We have examined now over 25 state-owned enterprises and looked very carefully at what they do, whether that what they do is best done by them or best done by others. We have already discussed in the media some things we're looking at. So one of the questions, one of the thought experiments we do is saying that if you were to establish government today, is that something you would do? So, for example, the government has its own printery. Is that something you would do? The government has its own broadcasting company. Is that something you would do? With all the modern technologies and the convenience that one has. So the government manages a lot of commercial type things, such as the Caves of Barbados, the Kensington Cricket Ground. And so we believe there is tremendous scope for maintaining the same service, but not doing it within within the government. Indeed, perhaps using the opportunity of enfranchising the people who work in that service or other workers elsewhere to get government funds for doing that service. So that is an important part of what we're doing, but every agency is different. It really is a smart individual approach rather than a hatchet job. We're not going around. I was a banker for 4 or 5 banking booms and busts, and in the bust, the boss would come around and say, you've got to eliminate 20% of your team. I mean, that always led to the wrong 20%. It always led to bad decisions. And so we are looking very carefully at what these state-owned enterprises do and whether things could be done better, more efficiently. The BWA, for example, is it clear that it's a very large institution? We spend a lot of money on the BWA. They're spending around $10 million per month. And the question is, are we spending that most effectively? The repair teams that go out to repair water mains, could they be self-employed? Could they own their own trucks, own their own teams? And we think that we're going to be working with the unions on new enfranchisement models, which will, I think, create a lot more efficiency and reduce expenditure. About 2/3 of our adjustment is through expenditure reductions. A large amount of that is through the state-owned enterprises, but not all. For example, we are going to eliminate as much as from almost everywhere except emergency services, overtime payments. The government spends around $10 million a year on overtime payments, and we're going to say for the 4 years of this adjustment, unless it's an emergency service, we are going to put a freeze on that. So we're making savings across the board, but we are focused on the state-owned enterprises.